I'm Nova Han. I'm a creative director for music festivals, stage shows, concerts, and immersive experiences around the world. My work has been seen by hundreds of thousands at festivals like Coachella, Electric Forest, Burning Man, and Firefly. I've worked with artists like Deadmau5, Bass Nectar, and the String Cheese Incident. My job has me searching the globe to discover the industry's best artists in installations, performance, movement, set design, costumes, and emerging technologies to create some of the world's greatest live entertainment experiences. Audiences see the awe-inspiring spectacle of the final product, but they have no idea what it takes to get there. We the Creators explores the lives of the artists behind the magic, what drives them to do what they do, the sacrifices they've made, and the pain they've overcome to make art at any cost. Behind every great artist is an even greater story. This is We the Creators. Hello, friends, and welcome to another We the Creators, where our mission is to showcase the incredible artists behind the live events industry. And today I'm really excited because we're with my friend and prolific artist, Carey Thompson. Carey Thompson is a paint, installation, and sculptural artist. He is the founder of Galactivation, whose works have been seen at Electric Forest, Envision Festival, and Burning Man. He is also acting art director for Boom Festival, one of the world's premier art and music gatherings held in Portugal every other year. He's a man of many talents, a producer, a painter, a builder, designer, visionary, and community leader. He describes his works to have the intention to assist in the catalyzation of one's core connection with Source, to heal the schism between ourselves as humans and the world around us. I think we all need a little bit of that right now. So without further ado, this is the world of Carey Thompson.
So I feel sacred geometry is a good way for us to learn how everything underlying the physical world in another dimension is connected. By careful observance of nature, you can really start to see the underlying patterns that connect everything that we see. I've explored it through my art, and it's just really revealed so much to me as to my role, my personal connection with each other and everything else around me.
Yay! So amazing. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too. Thanks so much for having me here.
I'm really pumped. You have been just somebody that I have admired and respected so much over the years. Just watching your growth as an artist and as a community leader has been amazing. And, you know, before the show, I was actually trying to remember when I first met you. And I can't even recall. I feel like I know you through just festival osmosis or something like that. But it's been several years, you know?
Yeah, I actually agree. I can't remember the actual moment where we met. It could have been at Boom when you came out with Lucent in 2010. Wow. Maybe EDC. Yeah, it's a little vague, but I'm happy to know you very much so.
Yeah, me too. So, you know, I want to talk about your works just right off the bat, because your works are really inspiring and really incredible. And one thing that I noticed is that you have these really strong portal themes. Like when I look at your pieces, I feel like I am about to get beamed up to some alternate galactic federation of alien tribesmen. And you know what? If that's what the motherland looks like, I am down. I'm super down to go. So like that, like look at these beautiful pieces that you've created, that and the fact that your company name is Galactivation. I'm curious to know what that story is for you. What is that? Like, what is this theme of kind of portalization and galactivization to you?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. In fact, one of my titles I use at moments is a portalist, because I feel it's extremely important to create these spaces that sort of transform people into another place. And it began, I'd say, with my art, with my painting and drawing background. Like, I would create drawings that I felt were transportative, that would take me in the process of creating it to another place, which is only way I could describe it would be just through the art itself. So I feel like each piece that I would create was a portal in itself, in itself, but just in the 2D realm. But through my art, through my explorations in sacred geometry, which led me to sacred architecture, which kind of gave me this inclining to create in the 3D and do installations. So I wanted to bring my work into the 3D, and I thought a perfect way to do that would to create portals. So my first installation I did at Burning Man in 2005. I believe you might have an image of it. It was called the Dimethyl Temple. Initially, the intention behind it build a frame for one of my paintings, because the painting itself I felt was a portal, because it gave a glimpse into this other world that kind of came through in the process of its creation. So I wanted to build a frame turning into the painting like you would a temple. So the frame itself was going to be a doorway into the painting itself, and that initial vision grew and grew, and it became an actual gallery inside. So the experience I had in that first installation was profound. It fulfilled me on another level beyond that anything I had experienced before with just doing a painting. And experience that I had with that installation just inspired me to just go deeper with that. So I feel I wanted to continue this process, and I felt a need for these pieces that designated a space in the same sense of like the Torii gates of Japan designate a sacred space in the Shinto tradition. So
yeah,
expanding
let's get a
upon
picture of that up
that,
real fast. I want to see this while we're talking about this. Andrew, can you pull up the his Burning Man installation? It looks like it's like the white box kind of tribal look. Sorry, I want to get that visual.
Yeah,
and there we are.
yeah. Yeah, so I was really inspired by ancient cultures when I wanted to create something. So I brought this out, and it's a fusion of Egyptian, Mayan, and Balinese design motif. I felt there was an overlap between these cultures, somehow evident in their artistic expression. So I wanted to bring all those motifs together into something. So I also created it in alignment with the rising and setting sun. So first thing I did was to figure out the alignment of where the sun was rising out on the playa and where it was setting, and I aligned it perpendicular to that axis. So as the sun would set, it would cast its light directly inside into the inner sanctum of the space. So that was another thing that I was really inspired by from the ancient cultures, is these monuments that were aligned to these solar events or other celestial alignments. And that was just like really cool. I feel like a lost art that I wanted to bring back to the playa in that sense. And ever since the experience I had out there, I was just profoundly inspired to continue. And I felt that there was, a demand and a need and a desire from the community to have these activation spaces that were designed to bring the people in a level of interactivity that I wasn't able to experience in the 2D realm. So for a while, I was doing both painting and doing installations, and I just felt a calling to just give it my all and just take off on a whole nother creative pathway.
So this was your first attempt being off canvas. Was that structure?
Yeah.
That's quite the introduction. That's amazing. I mean, most people can't even put IKEA furniture together, let alone like, hey, I'm gonna make this epic temple. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel my art translated well to physical architecture, because it was very detailed and precise and certain things that were easy to extrapolate from 2D into 3D. So I just had to figure out how to carve and build. And another thing that I'm really love about the installation work is it brings a whole nother level of artistry, and that's in the engineering, because you have to incorporate physics and figure out how it's going to stand and withhold, pressure and weight and forces and all that stuff that
Absolutely.
I really geek out on a lot.
Wind and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's the art in that as well. I feel that, I really as well like to push, the limits.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And I love just how thoughtful you are with your design. Like, I feel like everything that you do really comes back to these ascension themes in a way, like your portals, the alignment with the sun. Like, my basic bitch ass self just thinks about like Indiana Jones, but you're thinking of like really, like these really ancient traditions that are so beautiful. And I guess I'm kind of curious to know, I guess, where does that come from? Like you have this like deep spirituality. Like, where did that start from?
I think it all is my feeling that we're all connected to everything, essentially. And I feel that there was a time on the planet where we as a species were all connected to each other and to the planet and to the greater cosmos as well. And I think that's the evidence that's left over in these ancient temples and things that we can still learn from and learn about their culture and their philosophy and their cosmology. And in there is pretty much the distillation of a lot of those concepts that I have of how we are in a period right now of time where we're sort of re-emerging into this phase of ancient temples all over the world, that we were connected in a way that you could see through the art and through the architecture, the way the pyramids were built in Giza as well as in parts of Mexico. And you see a lot of commonalities where there, as far as we know, there was no actual connection and direct contact, but yet somehow there's evidence that we were connected through our consciousness. And I feel that we've gone through a very long period of that disconnection with ourselves and the greater cosmos. And one of the big intentions of my art is to reawaken that connection with everything. So I feel when you create from that space and with that intention, you can remind people through a resonance, through something they recognize in the work that makes them realize that they're connected to something because they feel something that they're connected to in there that responds and strikes a deep chord. So, I'm wanting to kind of bring about that level of awareness with sacred spaces, and the intention behind a lot of the installations is to reawaken that connection that we have with something greater than ourselves, through my paintings, through my installations, through everything. Essentially, I feel is the main point of it all is to heal that schism, like you mentioned, which is our disconnection. The separation that we have from everything else is really the root of so much of our problems right now, because we're so disconnected. We don't realize that we're all each other and that we're connected to everything. So our behaviors are stemming from that as individuals and collectively. I think that's the root of the pandemic greed that I feel has plagued our planet for a long time, which we're seeing the effects of, which I feel is the one unnatural thing that humans have, that is the result of our disconnection. We have this idea that we need to hoard and collect, and it's unnatural, and it's not seen anywhere else in nature, I feel. So
yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel like spending time in nature is one of the most humbling ways to really understand the harmony and your scale amongst it all. It's like when you are amongst a grove of sequoia trees and all you see are these giant towering trees, you get to witness how small you are really in this world. But if you grow up in a city and all you see is cityscapes, like the biggest thing that you're seeing amongst your periphery are man-made objects. And I feel like that actually has a toxic quality to it, because then you don't understand your part in the world. You don't understand the ratios of like how small you are to the rest. Like everything is all about blowing up the ego in a way, bigger buildings, bigger businesses, more. And when you are more connected to the earth, you really understand the cyclical nature of everything, and not these like boxy towers that need to just keep escalating to their demise, really.
Yeah. I mean, nature creates no waste whatsoever, except, we are a part of nature, and we create a lot of waste, and a lot of things that we create serve no purpose once we use them. So that's, I feel, that stems from something that we really got to get to the root of. So it's been revealed to me through my process in creative life that that starts from within. That starts from like our inner connection to all that is. And for me, what has allowed me to transcend that separation in my life was being inspired by great art. So I learned early on that art has this really powerful potential to heal and to remind us and each other that we are connected to something much greater than ourselves. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, because if your reality is based on your capacity of understanding, right? Like how far your imagination can stretch is how far your reality is going to look. So I love what you're saying about that, about how art has that role and that duty in a way, because it's kind of our jobs to say, hey, can you imagine this? And I think that that's a really powerful thing, where you start to like leak into people's subconscious of new ways of thinking, new ways that things could look that they had never thought of or could imagine before. And it's one of the most important things we do as artists.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would love to go back to your paintings, because I feel like your paintings are very much within this realm of visionary art, right? And that's a term that we hear a bunch. But what does visionary art mean to you? What is that really?
It's an interesting topic, because it's been around for a while. It's thrown around a lot, and I feel a lot of people have a limited understanding of it from what I feel. There's just so much of it out there right now. I feel it's become kind of diluted, especially now in the era of the internet. It's so easy to see things and see what other artists are doing and emulate, and instead of forging that connection to that current of creativity that exists all around us everywhere, it's too easy to just copy ideas and sort of make things look visionary or whatnot. But I feel true visionary art is art that's coming from the primal source of all things. It's something beyond the egoic mind. It's art that is the result of artists getting out of the way and allowing the current to transmit through them into something of substance, whether it be a painting or a musical composition or a dance or something that is the result of, stepping out of the way and just letting your meditative state allow for the current to come through and for that to translate into something of beauty. For me, I want art to simply be a translation of the same language that nature uses, but through essentially just getting out of the way so nature can do its thing through the filter of your consciousness, And I feel visionary art exemplifies that. And but it's not all about, there's just so much like cliched symbolism and things like that that are prevalent these days in what people would call visionary art. And there's psychedelic art and there's visionary art, and I think there's a big distinction between the two. And I feel essentially, like, my belief, visionary art just depends on the source from which it came. it's that primal source that all things kind of filter through and come out from. It's the wellspring of creativity, and essentially it's our egoic minds that typically distract us and keep us from being connected to that. But when you can harness that current and create from that place, I feel that's where visionary art comes through, in which it's the art that people can't not resonate with it, because it harmonizes with the core of their being, because it reflects their true nature, because it's art that reflects the true nature of all that is.
I love yeah, and I love the distinction that you made, but that, you know, it's not the same as psychedelic art. Like, I had never even considered or thought about those things before. And you know, I might have been a culprit to kind of pooling them all into the same category as, you know, oh, well, that has a bunch of wavy lines in it, that's visionary art, I guess. So I love that you made that distinction. It really gives me a new way of thinking about things. And it actually, it reminds me of the Spaniards, actually. So the Moors settled in Spain, and they, you know, would say the phrase "ole," you know, and "ole" is actually a derivative of when the Moors came to Spain and they settled, and it was a derivative of the word Allah, which is God, which they would yell out to people who were performing as though they were saying, like, God, you're channeling God. And I just love that as a measurement. I love that as a measurement, where it's like, it's exactly as you said, it's getting out of the way, it's being in the pocket, it's being, you know, connected to pure source. And, you know, if you've been there, you know what that feels like. You know, when it's just like you step out of the way and you just take the ride. And it's the thing that I feel like all of us artists, we're always hunting that feeling down. It's rare and it's special, and yeah, and all the best stuff comes from that. Certainly.
Absolutely.
I want to bring up some of these images of Coalesce, because that piece blew my mind. When I saw that come out on Instagram and all the social media things, like, it completely blew me away. And here it is. Yeah, it's because I'm like, what am I looking at? You know, and I'm very familiar with video mapping. I had one of the first video mapping teams, you know, real-time dance teams, I feel like ever, probably. We started in 2011, and we had amazing people on it. We had the designer, you know, the lead designer for Halo. We had concept artists from Avatar and the Moulin Rouge. And, you know, as I did that whole process, I got tired of video mapping eventually, and was just like, it bores me. But then this came out, and I was renewed. My just sense of awe and wonder was completely renewed with this piece. It's incredible. And I actually, can we go to the picture of him building the piece? Yes. Oh my God. I'm looking at that picture and I'm just like, how 3D is that? How deep is that? Like, I can't tell what I'm looking at, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that I don't understand. There we are. Look at that. I love that you get that there's this picture, because it's like, oh my God, how flat is that? I don't know.
Yeah, the depth is probably about 10 inches.
You're kidding me.
No. I should have sent you the side profile shot, because I'll ask people, how deep do you think that is? And people are like 6, 8 feet. They can't conceive that it's essentially just layers of flat things. And it's the total depth is, it's about 10 inches. So if you look at it from the side, it's just, it's the illusion created by the design and the effect of it. Of course, enhanced by the video projections that were designed for it.
Of course. Yeah, that's the thing that I love about the art of light. Lighting is everything when it comes to our depth perception and what we perceive to be just real or fictitious. It's all lighting, which is fascinating.
I love video mapping so much, and the fact that I get to create things for video mappers just brings me much pleasure, because a lot of things, when I'm designing something for projection mapping, I have to hold back a lot. It's not all about the detail, it's more about the space, because you essentially are creating a canvas for other artists to work upon and interpret your design with their own experience and their own creative passion. So creating a canvas for other artists to dream upon is super fulfilling, because I can send them the designs ahead of time, because I work with digital fabrication, so they know exactly how it's going to turn out essentially after I build it, because the design is pretty set, So it's exciting to see, because I don't know what they're going to come up with. Coalesce was very special because it was an all-star cast of about 15 or more DJs from all over the world. Some of my favorites were there, and it wasn't just one at a time. They were jamming like a band on that thing.
Wow. So was this just, I don't know much about the event. Was it just a one-nighter, or did it tour, or what happened to this project? It's so beautiful. I need to see it.
Yeah, hopefully that stage makes it back out. It was a 3-night event for New Year's a couple years ago in Richmond in the Bay Area at the Craneway Pavilion. Really beautiful space. It came together really nice. The whole build was actually just a week. We built that thing in a week from start to install, and it all happened so quickly. And by the end of it, it's I used to experience this when I painted, where hours would go by and I would just feel like it was just moments. You kind of transcend time and space, and when I experienced that on a build that lasts for days or if not weeks, and when I kind of come out of it, that period, feeling like it was just a trance, like, wow, what happened? That's the sweet spot, because it's not just me in this meditation in front of the canvas. It's like me working with a team, communicating and managing all these things, but it's still, so that was really powerful, because I don't think any of us really expected the outcome that we manifested there with that one. And I'm definitely really happy with it.
It's literally one of my favorite things I think I've ever seen, and I am a pretty harsh critic. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's like really incredible to me to just watch your transition, and I love it, because I feel like I recognize a lot of myself in you, in the sense that like we're kind of people of many hats. But I'm wondering like how it transitioned from being a painter, then doing installation art, and then now moving into the role of being a creative director and a producer for a massive festival like Boom. How does your artistry translate to directing large groups of people?
It's pretty direct, I mean, I hadn't had any experience with anything beyond my own projects before getting the opportunity to art direct for Boom. But they saw something that they trusted me to go for it, and it's been a beautiful journey, because getting to see things that happen on such a big scale is by far one of the most fulfilling things I've ever experienced. And getting to art direct, which means going through all the submissions and also inviting artists and recognizing hidden skills in artists and seeing how those might synergize with other artists in the process of collaboration. It's amazing. So it's really, I see it as a palette of colors that I would use as a painter, but really those paints are artists from all over the world that I get to paint with on the canvas of this beautiful piece of land in Portugal. So I get to draw from the skills and talents that I recognize in other artists, bring them out to do when they work and develop these projects. And then, it's been amazing to see how it all comes together in the end, because the result is by far beyond what I ever could have conceived of in the beginning. Like this picture here, having this is in the 2012, the main stage we had at Boom, where the Do-Lab came out and built the structure, and I orchestrated all the art and deco inside. And this is a case example of that, because I had this vision of these two Quetzalcoatl serpents floating over the dance floor, super large, and I wanted them to just be so massive that it would just create so much awe. But I was having trouble figuring out how they were going to be made and how it was going to happen. And I was working with some deco crews in Europe, and I just wasn't really feeling what was coming out. And the synchronicity from this one was I was in Chinatown in San Francisco, and I saw one of those dragon puppets, a small model of the dragon puppets that they would dance around in parades. And I was like, well, yes, of course, we should build it like that. And previous to this, I had the idea like, okay, we can make the bodies with hoops and kind of wrap them around that, and then have this ornate head attached to them, and that's how we would create the general sense of it. And I was like, I wonder if that guy Daniel Popper, who was out at Boom the previous edition that made those puppets, he was just making these walk around puppets, but really beautiful. I was wonder if he could tackle this on. So I emailed him, and he lives in Cape Town, South Africa, and as well as the woman Karen Dixon who painted them. I was like, we can make these serpent dragons for Boom, and they were like, hell yeah, we'll do it. And so to witness the evolution of other artists that hadn't been given the opportunities to create at such a scale, it's amazing, and to see how much passion that they both put into it to create, it just completely blew me away. And to see the results of that, the inspiration that created and future opportunities, it's incredible. And my friend Zavi created that central pillar there, and I did the stage, and the whole space was just legendary. I'm super happy with that one, and I feel it really pioneered some new territory in festival decoration and space.
Yeah, pioneered is the right word. I remember being home that year from Boom and being just so awe-inspired when pictures of that stage came out. I felt like I had never seen anything like it. It was truly next level. I mean, and still is. That stage, like amongst the landscape of festivals out there, that stage is still just so next level. And it's how many years old? Like 5?
That was 2012. So, 8 years ago.
Wow, time goes by so fast.
I know. I mean, I'm just so grateful that Boom has given me so many opportunities and allowed me to take such big risks, and to, pass those risks along to other artists, and to, there's certain events that magic where it doesn't matter what you're making or anything like that. You just want to be there, and you want to give it all of your passion. And Boom being so international, having attendees from over 150 countries and artists from all over the world, it really demonstrates that we as a planet are receiving some really amazing high-frequency creative inspiration. And to see it all, exemplified in one place where you have all these artists bringing, whatever art forms and styles and techniques, you could see the underlying cohesiveness under it all, because it really feels as if they're coming from that same source, but through their cultural filters it comes out in different ways of expression. So putting all those into one creative experience where you have people in all walks of life and all forms of creativity synergizing together, it's really potent, as a boomer to come there in that land and see all the amazing art made from people from all over. And, that's for me, super grateful.
It's truly unique. I mean, I remember walking around that festival being like, I don't understand most of these conversations. And there were so many different dialects that you could just overhear walking those grounds, which is such a unique experience. It's really neat. I wanted to ask you one more question and then go to a live Q&A. So if you guys are watching, feel free to drop in any questions that you might have for Carey, and we'll move to that after I just get one more question in. But I guess, what I'm curious about, because I think that a lot of people are kind of these emerging artists. And I feel like, especially in this strange COVID times, I'm seeing a little bit of a polarity of what people are doing. Some people are in straight survival mode. They have kids, they have to, feed and all of that. And then some people are really kind of facing this wide opening in their lives where they have the opportunity to step into whatever they've ever dreamed of stepping into. So my question for you is kind of like, what was a pivotal moment for you where you realized that this was your path?
I can definitely answer to that. Probably, I would say, definitely would be, a cathartic experience I had in college. It was, I think, my third semester of university. I had grown up, pretty much convinced I was going to be a doctor, pursue medicine. And so I was very much on that path of science and math, and my core beliefs were very reductionist. I really felt that science was on the path of full discovery. If it hasn't happened yet, as we continue to break it down into smaller and smaller pieces, we're going to figure everything out. But yet, over time, my late teens, having, experiences with psychedelics and other non-ordinary states of consciousness, too many things were not fitting into that framework anymore. And I just reached a tipping point at one point where I just knew for sure that this path that I was on in university, to get stamped with a degree at the end, to get a job, to make money, to somewhere along that path find happiness, was bullshit. So luckily for me, I had art sort of I was already doing art, and I thought it was just a kind of a hobby I had in the background. But I knew at that moment where I had this experience where I was 100% convinced that my path would merge my passion and love for biology and science, and understanding the world through that lens with my understanding of sort of what science is lacking, was the acceptance of consciousness as part of it. It's like something that science can touch, but my experiences with sacraments and everything were revealing a much deeper dimension to reality, that I knew that my art could merge with my understanding of science on that end of it, so they could converge into a path that I felt was perfect for me. So I withdrew the next day. It was a couple weeks into my third semester. It was just like a graduation moment where I knew 100% what I was going to be doing with my life. And I was very fortunate that I think I was 19 or 20 when, I was given that directive. And, I haven't looked back since, and I have no regrets there at all, because I've been able to put all my passion to my art and continue to learn what interests me in science and other things. So it just directly translates into the creative path. So that was the pivotal point where I knew that the established system that society, puts upon us was wrong, and that following your passion and your interests and putting everything you have into that is really key. And hoping that by doing that, it inspires others to find their passion in life and to put their love into that, because I feel that's the snowballing effect that we really need to establish, where we're all just expressing ourselves from that place of love and passion.
Absolutely. I had a similar story, and I won't get into the depths of it, but I had a similar story where I was lost, graduated from college, was like, what am I doing with my life? And I heard Einstein's theory of the bees, that once the bees become extinct, that all mammals on Earth have a matter of 4 years before everything is extinct. And I thought about the fact that, do you think that the bee knows that it holds the consciousness, the key to our survival? Does it have the consciousness that it knows that it holds the key to our survival? I don't think so. And what matters is that it makes love to these flowers every day, right? And these flowers are specifically designed to be attractive to these bees. And so, you may never understand. It may always look insignificant. It may always look small. It may always feel like you are slaving away for the matriarchy in their case. But so long as you are following your highest attraction and have faith that that you're serving the world the way the world needs to be served, then everything else that you need to know about if it's going to be important, if you're going to make money, that's all ego. That's all ego. Just follow your highest joy, the thing that sparks you the most. Have faith that that's how you serve the world, and the rest will follow suit. So I love that.
That's profound and beautiful for sure. Give me goosebumps to hear it.
Thanks. Well, then I, joined a circus and dedicated my life, and here I am now.
Excellent.
Right on. So let's open this up to a couple of Q&As from those of you watching. We have Graham Berry, and he asks, how long is the design process for something like the coalesce piece? Is that part of the week it takes to build, or were you working on it for much longer before arriving to site?
What's up, Graham? Thanks for your question. Yeah, that was, that had a few iterations. So I'd say the process design would take about a day, and then a day to vectorize. And I flew about maybe 3 or 4 different concepts on the one that we did, and that was just a back and forth with the producers that had some ideas of what they wanted to do. But essentially, it was pretty quick, once I get going there. But it's because of the digital fabrication, I could do a lot of the design work ahead of time, and then essentially just go through the motions of building it once we're there. There's a few things you have to figure out, like how it was all going to get installed and how it was going to store. But it's a pretty streamlined. Other pieces, you just kind of like roll with it and build as you go, and you don't know how long. You just go for it. But for that piece, because it had to be mapped with the VJ's work, it had to be pretty much pre-planned to where when it was installed, we knew exactly how it was going to look. So the template that they used for the mapping would line right up, and there wouldn't be a lot of time needed to adjust the projectors and the alignment with everything. So I would say, we had the week of build with the install, and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks of design time leading up to that. Overall,
wow. Are you the one that's putting this all up, and are you designing this in SketchUp or in CAD, or do you kind of tell somebody who is like a SketchUp artist or a CAD artist what you're envisioning, and then they'll draft it for you?
Yeah, I work in SketchUp and Illustrator primarily. So for that piece, and that you could see that toroid, that donut shape, that's the centerpiece there, that had to pretty much be aligned perfect. And so I created that object in 3D in SketchUp, and created the angle just so to create the inner aperture for the DJ and the screen that we put behind it. That's actual one projector hitting it from the front, and one projector behind hitting a rear view screen behind. So you have a interplay of the two surfaces. So once I had that object in 3D, I traced it in Illustrator, and that's what gives it the illusion of the depth that it has. It's just like the precise curvatures and angles and perspective that it has. So it's essentially translating a 3D object into a 2-dimensional space, and then building it back into 3D, and then letting the VJs extrapolate that even more with their own skill sets and creativity.
Yeah. It makes me feel so crazy looking at it still. I get such a visceral reaction when I look at it, where I feel insane, because the brain, man, the brain wants to understand things so desperately because it's trying to survive. And my brain's like, I don't understand. I don't know if I like this, which I love it, but you know what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
so we
I
have,
think I was just going to say, I think it's important for all artists to try to stretch the bounds of what they can do and to create that sense of awe and wonder.
yeah, 100%. Exactly. I love that. And stretching our perceptions of reality so that we can help teach people that it's very malleable. All right. So we have one more question. Lindsay Shank asks, what is next? Where are you looking forward to connect, ignite, and inspire?
Where are you looking forward to connect, ignite, and inspire? And what is next? Well, hopefully, I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble for saying anything with NDAs and stuff like that. But I'm definitely excited for the next project that's going up in Vegas for Area 15. You know, an interactive, immersive environment that hopefully will be up and going this fall. But of course, there's a lot of X factors now and unknowns. But I'm really looking forward to doing more permanent installations. I just did a cannabis dispensary in California, which is, you know, now permanent. And, you know, because they've had to shut down their doors for customers, they've had this amazing immersive space with, you know, 4 40K projectors and all the LEDs and all the bells and whistles and everything. It's a really amazing space. And because of this, now they're doing live streams in there and using it for music every week. So it's really cool to see. Like,
it's so gorgeous.
So, you know, I'm really looking forward to doing more of that. But ultimately, you know, like the big project for me is working on permanent land space. You know, I live in Costa Rica and everything. What got me into doing installations from 2D really was knowing that I wanted to create. So that's been my directive for a long time. So I'm living here now and I'm working on land here and wanting to create temples and spaces for other people to come and be inspired. And you know, it's a collective vision so many of us share, but I've had it for a while and it has guided me for many years. And, you know, it all leads up to that, where this interactive space that inspires people with art all over the place and, you know, hosting all kinds of gatherings and workshops, like a mini permanent festival.
Yeah,
so I feel
totally.
That's where my path is leading.
I love that. All right, well, we're running out of time, so let's just do one more question, and then we'll probably close it after that. But so Graham Barry wants to know if you could give one golden guiding rule or principle for emerging artists who want to tap into source or align with something bigger than themselves. What advice would you share?
I would say trust your inner guidance and turn off that part of your mind that doubts yourself or feels that you're not good enough, or maybe it's too late to start. But really just do it for yourself. You know, don't do it for likes or followers or anything like that. Try to tune all that stuff out and just do what feels fun and what's enjoyable, because the biggest thing you could do for yourself is to tap into that source that comes from beyond. It's extremely, and it reminds us that and it's easy to feel, especially now with so much fear being pushed upon us and so much division and so much separation. I mean, we have this amazing opportunity right now to galvanize as a whole and to work together towards a common goal. You know, I feel it's really sad to see how much division and you know, arguing and everything that's happening disturbing, because we have this opportunity now to come together and really and I feel like we have the team, we have the inspiration, we have the tools. It's just we need to get past this part that is keeping us from realizing that we're all on this wave, that we have the ability to ride the glory. And it's a shifting tide that I feel that cannot be stopped. And it's the shifting towards a space of love and acceptance and unity, and for us as creators to share that with each other, to share our innovation and share creativity, because it really just affects people, so deep and internally that they can't help but create from that place of inspiration and follow their passion and get excited about it and share it with the world, and that's really the only shot I feel we've got in this, is to really guide our creativity and give it everything we've got, because it's that schism that we talked about before that is the root of all of it. So if we can heal that through collective inspiration, we have a chance in this. But if we hold back, if we let our fears and apprehensions and misgivings and insecurities hold us back, then it's really going to affect our ability to survive this storm. So that's, the biggest piece I could have for sure would be to just keep creating and keep inspiring and do what you can to remain inspired and to turn off that self-defeating part of ourselves that we all have to work through.
I love that so much. I'm so inspired by that. I want to take everything that you said and just boil it down to actual text so I can read it to myself every morning. It was so beautiful and so well said, and I can't think of a better way to end the chat. So thank you so much, and thank you guys, if you guys are watching, thank you so much for supporting the show, supporting the art, supporting amazing people like Carey, who, as he said, with all the artists that came together at Boom, no one does this for the money. We do this for the sheer passion and the joy, spreading art, spreading messages, sharing joy out into the world. So thank you for supporting this little show. We so appreciate it. And if you want to follow Carey, please do. He's on Instagram and on Facebook, Carey Thompson, which is spelled Carey Thompson. And his business is called Galactivation. You can also follow us, WeHOWL, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Believe it or not, this social currency means something these days, and you have limitless likes, so don't be stingy with them. Anyhow, thank you so much. Join us next week. We'll have Greens and Kirian from Creatington and Fungineers on the show, so be sure to check in. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, be kind, and love boldly. And give it up for Carey. What an inspiration. Thank you again. Yeah.